If you click this video to watch a soothing, calming vlog about coffee making, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it's quite the opposite.
We've not even started, the mountain climbing and the valleys. Right now, this dollar is as if they blind the bitter leaf with I don't know my case. Is this? That's coffee. Yeah?
Is this coffee?
Yeah.
Another day. My kids, you say where are we going? Melong. My first time going to Melong. What can we expect?
We expect it to go after Melong. We expect it to go inside.
Remember Matthias from my previous video? Take note because in this video he almost took over my YouTube channel.
It's like the valley and all the mountains. Like driving we go to straight, like we're able to climb mountains and
Catch lions.
to fall down and get up.
We went to the bus station bright and early to get our next bus to Melong. When you arrive at bus park with several bus agencies in Cameroon, the bus drivers will literally be fighting over you to come to their bus agency. So we were trying to decide which bus agency to go to, and this gentleman was sounding very convincing. The problem is the bus was not yet full and we had to wait for some hours for the bus to be full.
We have to wait until it's full before we can leave, and we don't actually take the time. Like there's no time, we just wait until the bus is full before you can leave. You guys were asking me in the last section if there's no coronavirus today. Like oh Lord, of course, I'm gonna be wearing my mask though.
And so the wait began. We were going to Melong, and this is not a major city in Cameroon, so you don't find private big agencies that go to Melong, more small bus agencies, hence the buses are not in the best condition. After waiting for about 2 hours, it finally took off, and when your bus is not full, once the bus is in motion, the bus conductor will still try to get customers as the bus goes along. Occasionally, when the bus stops to take in more passengers, food vendors come into the bus with their various delicious items to sell. So you have things like bread, meat, fruits, vegetables that sellers come in to sell, and the bus passengers would obviously buy. Cameroonians are such hustlers, and you can see people from all age groups that are selling on the streets, selling in markets, in buses. I mean, wherever people gather, you will find Cameroonians selling. Because of the unbearable heat, we decided to buy this yogurt to cool our thirst. But guys, can I just tell you that the taste was a disappointment? I'm so sorry, but this was just not for me. Take note of the closed bag. It's gonna be important in the few minutes. Like promised, I wore my face mask. I was not about to be taking any chances, honestly. A few minutes into our trip, we had to stop to show our ID cards, and if you are Cameroonian, you know the drill now. So what happens is that you drop down from the bus to show your ID cards to our security military personnel before you can continue your trip. So after we showed our ID cards, you have to walk a distance away from the bus and the officer before they can, give you the go ahead that all right, you can continue your trip if your bus is cleared. So once our bus was cleared and we were all checked and in order, we got back on our bus to continue our trip. But once we got into the bus, we found Matthias's bag open and his hat displaced. So we were not sure if anything was taken out of it, but we just perhaps thought maybe they did some checks of the bags on the bus. But thankfully nothing was missing, so we continued our trip. The road from Douala to Melong was so beautiful with lots of plantations, especially palm tree plantations. Cameroon is a very fertile country. My greatest fear on Cameroonian roads is the single lanes. Having to overtake the vehicle ahead of you on single lanes is so chaotic because cars come directly at you. In South Africa, a lot of the roads are more double lanes, especially on the national roads, which make transportation a little bit more safe than having to overtake on single lanes all the time. I was so excited at this stage of our journey because we were just 24 minutes away after almost 6 hours on the road.
We finally arrived after a 100-hour journey. We were sandwiched like sardines.
Very hungry, like, oh my god, we've not even started, you know, the mountain climbing and the valleys.
Matthias is talking about mountain climbing. You will climb the mountain alone.
You're gonna see.
Yeah, so the second phase of the journey has begun.
Little did I know what I was getting myself into. Truly, the journey had not even begun. We were about to go on a whole other experience. We decided to get something to eat before continuing our trip to the remote village in Melong. It is very rare to almost impossible to find fast food chains like McDonald's and KFC in Cameroon because you have these kinds of restaurants all over the country where people cook meals and serve daily.
Right now,
I'll serve the water.
In such small-scale restaurants, authentic Cameroonian food is prepared, such as ndole, ero, and achu.
I feel like I eat arrow too much on this channel. You're managing dole. Do you know what we call dole?
So our food arrived and Matthias had quite a bit to say about the food combination. Let's listen to his review.
Well, this is the right combination. The only thing is this dollar is as if they grind the bitter leaf with machine. Look at the
It's too soft. It's not supposed to be too soft like that. Enjoy.
As for me, I was just grumbling about my proportion of water fufu to ero. Water fufu is made from fermented grated cassava.
Amen.
I was wrestling with my kanda. This is the meat that we put in ero, and it is the skin of a cow, or also called cow hide. It can be very tough and chewy. After finishing our little lunch, we're about to embark on the next most chaotic phase of our journey. We had to drive through the town of Melong to get to the next bike station to take the next bike, which would eventually take us to the village we were traveling to. Melong is a town in the Mungo division, which is in the littoral region, with very fertile and volcanic soil, which is perfect for coffee growing. I had never seen coffee before, and so I was very excited to eventually reach this village, but the journey to get there, honestly, I did not expect what was ahead of us. The name of the village we're traveling to is called Ebong, and at this hour of the day there were no more cars traveling in that direction, so we had to get a bike. I would rather have a smooth, untarred road than to have tarred road that has potholes everywhere, making your journey so uncomfortable. Welcome to Cameroon. This is the tropical part of the country, and the main crops grown are cocoa, coffee, palm trees, pineapples, pawpaw, banana, and plantain. As nighttime approached, we quickly realized that the lights of the bike were not working, and so we were about to be driving in the dark with no headlights. With low phone batteries and surrounded by darkness in the middle of nowhere, we had no other choice but to use our touch lights on our phones as headlights for the bike. I never thought I'll see the day where I'll have to use my phone touch light in the middle of nowhere. Unfortunately, the lights could not really show very far ahead, so we had to keep driving slow enough to see just the ground ahead of us. So we could not quite see if there was any incoming vehicle or any incoming person on the road or some stray animal. Actually, we were just going in faith. A few hours later, we arrived at our destination in one piece, but soon realized that there was no network and no electricity in the village. So this was a screenshot of my phone during the time. All in all, we were grateful to have arrived safe and spend the night basically winding down the little of our battery we had left. I had 16% left, and I was excited to see the environment the next day and the coffee that I had been waiting to see the entire trip. We woke up to the beautiful and quiet Ebong Village, surrounded by coffee plants all around us. There are two main types of coffee, Arabica and Robusta. This is coffee Arabica. The fruit produced from this plant begins with a green color and then changes to a red cherry color, and that is the fruit where the coffee bean comes from. When the cherries are harvested, they are depulped using a machine or by a manual method, and then the pulp is separated from the seed, and the seed is then dried and roasted, which then leaves us with the coffee which we know and see every day.
This is a coffee plant and it's my very first time seeing it in my life. I never knew that that coffee could come from this. So it's very interesting. I don't know, my thing is this
That's coffee,
is
nah?
this coffee?
Yeah.
Let us have a closer look. This is so interesting.
It's dry
oh
already.
my goodness. Eh?
It's dry. It
It's
has
dry.
3 stages. The first one is a green stage.
Uh-huh.
I mean, when it comes out from these
Yeah.
flowers, the green and then the red, which is ripe, and
Wow.
when it's
This is so
done,
exciting. I'm actually going to
there's
take this
black.
with me as we go along. I'll take this
To do
with
what
me,
with
Mwajo. I'll take it.
According to the World Atlas, Cameroon is the 21st top exporter of coffee in the world and the 6th top exporter of coffee on the African continent. For such a small country like Cameroon, it is actually really incredible that we produce that much coffee to rank among much bigger nations around the world. However, I must highlight that Cameroonians do not consume a lot of coffee. Perhaps this could be because the culture of coffee drinking has not really been adopted by Cameroonians, maybe due to mass exportation. Kenya is among the top producers and consumers of tea in Africa. What I'm trying to say is we don't actually consume what we produce in Cameroon with regards to coffee. And so I kept asking myself, how come we don't consume that much coffee when we are among the top producers in the world? Countries like America and South Africa have a huge coffee drinking culture. Whatever you're not exposed to, you might not have the openness to try out. And I think that's the reason why a lot of Cameroonians don't really embrace or know the coffee culture, which is sad because we do produce a lot of coffee. I don't know, what do you guys think about this? If you're a Cameroonian watching this video, would you welcome the idea of drinking coffee in the morning? Do you think you don't like coffee maybe because you've not been exposed to it? Would you consider drinking coffee more if you see it maybe in the local shops?
Is it taking?
I don't know.
Is it not go fast so that everything in the background is showing?
It is show no.
You have taken.
Fly. I'm not started.
Eh?
I'm not started.
So I did some more research to find out perhaps why we don't have enough access or that much exposure to coffee in Cameroon. During the year 2007, over 40% of the total exported coffee was green coffee to Italy. Meanwhile, coffee Robusta was exported to Belgium, Portugal and France. And then 70% of coffee Arabica was exported to Germany. With all this exportation happening, I was not surprised to find out that Cameroonian coffee roasters process only 5% of the national production of both coffee Arabica and Robusta. At the time I was filming this final footage, my battery went flat, guys, so I could not actually film the entire village, but I really hope I will come back here some other time to interview the locals and perhaps go to some of their factories and see what they do in more detail. I really hope you guys enjoyed this travel video to this remote village in Cameroon. Please like, please subscribe. I will see you guys in the next adventure.